Alright, so hi, welcome to this tutorial video. I'm Mr. White, and today I'll show you how to set up Streamlabs or OBS. It's the same stuff to make your streams look good or not pixelated or blurred, which is, well, pretty much a common issue nowadays, right? With also good audio quality and just like generally explain everything that you need to know about the programs themselves. And now the reason for me doing this is because I have struggled with all these for like pretty much years, trying to find like tutorials and different guides. And there are some really good ones out there, but they're all just like fractions of what you need. So you have to watch like a lot of them, and then you have to work a lot on it to actually make them work. So yeah. Now I will put timestamps when I edit this whole video, and you can just like skip the parts that you're interested in if you know what you're looking for. But if you don't know what you're looking for, then just watch the whole video and I will explain everything to you. Right, so first off, this is OBS, right? The chat is not gonna be here. You have to add it up here as like a different browser source, and then you have to go to Twitch, open your chat in a new source, copy the link and just drop it in. So it's not a hard thing to do. But going on with settings, if you click settings, right, you have the general. Here there isn't really much to talk about. You got your language obviously and your theme, which you can set to anything but light mode. Please, for God's sakes, do your eyes a favor and just do not use that. It literally feels like a flashbang. So yeah, just don't. And pretty much the only thing you're gonna change here is if you scroll down, you can see snap sensitivity, sorry, which basically means that when you're pulling sources here on your sources, it doesn't snap to the edges. So like for example, if you're pulling, I don't know, whatever, your alert box, right, and you want it to be like for example up here at the top left but not exactly touching the sides, if your snap sensitivity is too high, it's just gonna snap either to the left or to the top. So basically it's gonna snap to borders, which can make it a little bit hard to, well, align it, right? There's like a loophole to this, like if you click it manually and then use your arrow keys, then it adjusts them by pixel, so there's no snapping at that point. But just make yourself a favor, do yourself a favor and just put it to 5. It's gonna be a lot easier. Moving on to stream, here you can select the service you're streaming to. So like obviously I'm streaming to Twitch, right? For example, the server you can leave on auto, and stream key is something that everybody gets from Twitch, and it should stay private for everyone no matter what. You cannot share the stream key. It should be only for you and only you. Now you can get this by, if you click here to Twitch, right, and you go to, if you're on your channel like this, you go to creator dashboard and then you go to settings and you go to stream, and it's gonna be here at the top, which you have to copy. This you have to copy and you have to put it right here. This is where things start getting interesting and complicated. The first thing you have to do is at the top here, you need to click to have it on advanced. If you have it on simple, you have to switch it to advanced. If you have it on advanced, then good, you're a lot closer to the solution. Now at the streaming section for audio track, you can keep it simple basically, right? Leave it on 1 since Twitch removes copyrighted audio automatically from your VODs anyways, so there's no really need of it. But if you still want to be careful for some reason, you can set it to 2 and just assign your desktop audio to the one which you selected as your Twitch VOD, so it will not include it in the, well, in Twitch, right, the VOD. The next most important thing is the video encoder. This determines what part of your PC sends the stream and essentially how it does that. So you have more options here depending on what GPU you have. For example, if you have an NVIDIA GPU, you would have options like NVENC or NVENC New. If it's newer AMD or NVIDIA card, then you'd have access to the new AV1 encoder as well. Now the X264 is CPU encoding. Now I cannot click it because I'm recording, obviously, so I cannot switch the encoder while I'm doing it. But it's basically gonna be at video encoder, these options. And now the X264 you never want to do, because it essentially uses your CPU to a really big extent if you want quality streams. So it's just gonna make your whole game or whatever you're doing extremely difficult. It's gonna drop frames, it's gonna stutter, it's just not gonna be a good experience for you or for the viewers. Now if you have a separate PC which you use as a dedicated streaming PC, then you can do it, but it's pretty much useless nowadays with these new encoders like the AV1 or the NVENC New, because they pretty much have no impact because they're like a separate chip on the card, so they just don't impact your GPU's performance. So yeah, essentially if you have AV, pick that. If you don't have AV, then pick NVENC New. AMD cards like mine, for example, which are a bit older, this is a 5700 XT, won't have these newer options because it's an older card, right? So we will have to go with AMD H3H264 AVC, which is still it's still a good encoder, but affects performance a little bit more, around 5 to 10%, but you pretty much have no choice at this point. So yes, because these don't have the AV1 or NVENC chip encode, so it uses like the GPU itself, and yeah, that does impact performance. Now for rescale output, just don't do anything with that, leave it how it is. Rate control should be CBR, bitrate should be 6000. It depends on what platform you're streaming on, because for example for Twitch the bitrate cap is 6000 bitrates. If you achieve partner on Twitch, right, which is, I don't know, 25 average viewers, some stream time, and I don't know how many followers, I think, then you get the option to exceed it to 8000, which is actually a lot, to be honest, quality wise. Now while YouTube can go all the way up to like 50,000 bitrate, right, that basically means how fast your upload speed is, that how fast your stream is gonna update for everyone. So the higher it is, the sharper and clearer it is. And now if your upload speed is weak, it will look blurry and you'll get those nasty little pixels and blurring, just like when you call someone on Messenger, you know, and then it's like a bad quality and pixels are like shifting colors and etc. Now for Twitch streamers, right, set it at 6000 and you can confidently go over that if you're streaming on YouTube. And now before you do this, before you set your upload speed, go to ookla.com, just search Ookla, speed test by Ookla, and just click this. And now it's gonna pretty much calculate your upload speed, right, and the download speed. And once you get your upload speed here, you will know what to set it in OBS. So as you can see, to me it goes up to 189 megabits per second, which let's say 190, okay, let's say 190 to make it easier, which means it's 19,000 bitrates, right? 19,000 bitrates. So I could stream all the way up to 19,000, but because Twitch caps it at 6K for us, there's literally no need to exceed this. Now keyframe interval should be at 2 seconds. This is basically determines how often a full frame is sent to the stream. So like 2 seconds is really good option, but if you want to go, you can go set it to 1 or essentially 0, which means auto. So I'd rather just do 1. And this actually depends on the game you are playing and how fast-paced the game is. So for example, if you're playing a Metroidvania or something that doesn't have the movement, for example, of an Apex Legends match where you constantly fly everywhere and you're flicking shots, then you can keep it pretty much low. But if you play FPS games, keep it around 1 or 2 seconds, because it's gonna make the streams look much more smoother if it's a fast-paced game. Now preset, you should keep it on quality and profile should be high. Alright, now we move on to the recording. Now for recording, that's basically if you want to record, right? So I'll just go over it pretty much briefly since this video isn't about recording but streaming. Here you can basically set what kind of output the video is gonna be. Mine is obviously set to MP4 because that's what I use mostly. And you got your video's bitrate, which should be around 60 to 90,000 kilobits per second. Now this should be like that because a good 60 FPS 1080p video that has like no blur at all, sharp, everything pretty, uses around like 60 to 90k. So just yeah, keep in mind that and set it according to that. Now the encoder should be as same as for the streaming one, and audio bitrate is honestly customizable to your liking. It doesn't matter, you can do whatever you want with it. Now for audio section here, it kind of depends, because it is good to set it to 320 and 320 for track 1 and track 2. I don't know if you're using track 2, but I like to use it to track 1 anyways. If you don't want your stream to have those distorted sounds, you know, like it feels like almost the sounds are having trouble coming through and they're like pitching up and down, then you can set it to like 320. And this also benefits if you have an XLR mic and you want it to sound crisp. And I'll talk about actually the mic setup a little later on. And there are some plugins which you can make your mic sound like it's an XLR without it being an actual XLR. Mine is an XLR and it required a lot more setting up, but you can do it the same way with a USB microphone as well. It's just not gonna have that good of a quality, but it's still gonna be better than what it is right now for you. So preset should be quality, profile should be high. Now for audio, meaning this section, the bigger one, right? You should set the sample rate to 48, a little bit more up, and the rest you should set according to your setup, basically. So like desktop audio, I left it on default, but basically it's desktop, right? Desktop 2, it doesn't matter. And then your mic, first one should be the mic you are actually using. If you have a second mic, it should be the second mic that you're using, and that's pretty much all about it here. And now if you go to video, you need to set your base canvas to full HD, this first one, meaning 1080p, because even if you play in 2K or 4K, it does not matter. Set it to 1080p because it's gonna make it a lot easier to work with around our sources and not interfere with them in a way that, because if you happen to set it to 4K and you play, for example, a game later on in 2K or 1080p, it's gonna have the black borders around it, right? Because it's not gonna fill it all the way up. And if you drop it down to 1080p at that point, which you can't even do while you're streaming, so you would have to shut down your stream and restart it. And even if you do it like that, it's just gonna throw all your alerts all over the place, because it's gonna remember it was at the bottom right when it was 4K, but because now you removed it to 1080p, it's just gonna be at the center, or it's gonna move it to more to the left, and it's just everything is gonna be all over the place. So just yeah, do not do it. Now the output scaled resolution, I have found that 810 works amazingly, because it's just the balance in between when Twitch starts to pixelate your stream or when it starts looking bad. So this res looks good, doesn't pixelate, and it's pretty much stable on 6K bitrate, so there's no reason to go under this at all. And if you by any chance do go over it, you can stream 1080p's, but only Metroidvanias which are not fast paced, and because otherwise it's just not gonna look good. So there's actually not even a point to go up to 1080p at this point. Just leave it at 810 and it's gonna pretty much work out with everything. Now downscale filter, this sharpens your scaling, so set it to 60 samples. And the FPS value should be 60, obviously, since there like isn't many people who can actually watch your streams over that refresh rate, right? So even if there are, it's not gonna make your stream looks nice, because for example, for now with 6000 bitrate you're sending 60 frames, right? If you set it to 90, that means that there's 1/3 more of a frames that it should send with those 6000, meaning your whole stream, if it's 90 FPS, it's pretty much lose 1/3 of its quality, so it's not worth it. And yeah, Some people even like it to set the frames to 55 to save an extra 5 frames and convert it to quality, right? Which kind of gives like you an extra sharpness for it. And you can do that pretty much anytime if you're playing a visually more viable game and not an FPS shooter where it can feel choppy. All right, now we move on to hotkeys. Well, hotkeys are, well, essentially hotkeys. You can have all your sources and alerts and desktop audio, microphone audio set to hotkeys here. It's very customizable, and they also work with Stream Deck buttons. So it's pretty much on how you switch if you want like a shortcut. These are like shortcut keys to mute your mic, make your camera disappear, unmute your mic, etc, etc. Moving on to the filter options for your audio sources. Now this here is very adjustable and very custom for each and every individual separately, depending on voice, the background noise you have, and the mic quality itself. Now one thing I do recommend is that you add noise suppression. So you go here, you select your microphone, 3 dots, you go to filters, and here are all the filters that I am using currently. You can click this little plus button to add another filter of your choice. Now one thing I do recommend is you add noise suppression and you set it to RNN noise filtration. It works really well, and it kills the background noise and actually even enhances your mic quality to some extent. Now the next one should be noise gate, and that says essentially on what decibels your mic is. Mic should pick up sound, meaning if you shout, it's not gonna pick it up, but also lower frequency and volume noises like background noise, combined even with noise suppression, gets filtered out, so there's like absolutely no background noise at all. Now limiter is when you do shout, like, and it captures it, it won't let it exceed a preset volume level. For example, if you shout for 20% of your power, it's gonna be 20%. If you shout double as much, double loud as much, it's still gonna be 20% of allowed, because it limits the strength of that sound. After this, we only have the plugins, right? And which you can get by searching the internet for Reaper plugins. And when you get this, you get to this page. I will put that page in the description, and when you download it and install it, it should be put to your OBS plugins folder, which you can find if you go to your local C, you go to program files, and then you just find OBS Studio, and there it is, OBS plugin. Now if you have a 32-bit system, then obviously you're gonna have the 32-bit version, so here you should download the 32-bit version, otherwise just go with 64 bits. And once you download it, install it, you have to install it either here, or if you get DLL files, you have to pull the DLL files in here. But I think it's just gonna be an install, and you select this folder so it installs too. If you guys are interested about how to set it up exactly, I'm gonna make a video about it because it's pretty complicated. I can even show you if I open these plugin interfaces here. Now you should always have 2 of them, and I will explain to you exactly right now why. Now as you can see, this is the first one. This is the first plugin, and because it depends on how your voice is, everybody's voice is different, right? So what I have here is that it enhances these frequencies. These are like frequencies, and this frequency is heightened for me. But even if it exceeds these, which is coming down, the band 2 is coming down, it doesn't let them pass these frequencies. So basically you do not hear the sounds that are being produced under these frequencies. Now same for the third one, it lowers these middle ones, and then you have the 4th and 5th, which is essentially the those sounds. It doesn't even let me capture it normally, but it's the S, T, C, and these kind of sounds, so it's not as sharp in the ear for your viewers. And once you have these plugins done, I mean this exact one, the normal one, then you have something called the round down, which you just add 2 bands, or high pass and a low pass for this example, and you set them like this, so these ones get pretty much excluded from the whole thing. So these really deep ones are not gonna be in the voice, right, of what you hear, and I mean what your viewers hear. So pretty much it cuts them out. And as you can see, sometimes it happens for me that the yellow line even exceeds here the 1, which means that it pretty much gets cut out. So it boosts it to some frequency, and it does boost the 3, 4, 5 in the other one, but this one makes sure that if it exceeds anything above here, exactly this part here, then it gets cut out. Well, lastly, about scenes and sources, right? And well, scene transitions themselves. Scenes you can call folders essentially, and they all hold their own sources, which you can think about like these are files in a folder, and you can customize each and every scene to your liking, meaning one is gonna be starting soon, for example, where it is, there you go. Other one is gonna be right back, which you can add sounds as well, it depends pretty much. And then you have your matchmaking, you have your live, you can make it look whatever you want to look at. And now lastly, the scene transitions, which you could see in between here, are the ones I use. You can select it here, like, I don't know, let's go global transition. You see, this is like one of the default ones that you have in the beginning. You have the fade one where it just like fades it. You can increase its duration, for example, if you want it to look a little bit more cinematic. To that, beta is this what I made, but it didn't really look good, so I just went with the Reaper transition essentially. But yeah, so that's pretty much all you have to know. I think I covered pretty much everything here to make you start up your first stream. So if you guys want me to explain the filters and the plugins, I mean the plugins themselves, these ones, on how to make them, then make sure you tell me in the comments so I know if you guys are interested or not, and then I can make a video on how to set up your mic to look exactly like this. If not, you can just, I'm pretty sure, find another video on YouTube and do it for yourself. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments. I will try and help you out, all of you. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video, guys. Hope this was helpful. Bye bye.